Yeah.
in that mindset.
And you know what, Chris? Doctors are doctors. They're not marketers. If they were, they'd be marketers, right?
For
So
sure.
like they don't, sometimes there's that disconnect there where it's like you explain that to them and it's like contrarian. What do you mean by that? I don't want to talk negative about the product, but you're not. You're exposing a completely different audience that you're not used to speaking to, which are the people you really should be speaking to, because those are the people that are not taking the product the right way in the first place.
Welcome to the Money Medicine Podcast, where today we're going to be discussing strategies to grow your healthcare business, tools to accelerate that growth, and how top practices and pharmacies are executing and winning. All right, welcome back to episode podcast number 25. As promised, we want to bring on amazing people to contribute to conversations, and alongside Logan Morse, the right hand. Today we are joined with a special guest, Jeremy from Kaerwell. And today we're going to be getting into all things fulfillment, get into some marketing, getting into growing your e-commerce, growing your supplement business. So again, whether you're a pharmacy or you are a clinic, today's going to be a great episode. Jeremy, we debriefed a little bit before the podcast and we got into all sorts of subjects. So I don't know maybe where we'll get sidetracked or if we'll get sidetracked, but he's going to bring a lot to the table from not just, again, the Kaerwell side of things, but just a really, really sharp dude. So I guess all that intro aside, Jeremy, tell us a little bit about Kaerwell.
Nice.
And what you guys do, because we're familiar, but maybe not everyone listening is. So I'd love to get them up to speed so they have some context.
Perfect. Well, first of all, thank you both for having me. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. So Kaerwell is a distribution center, and my role as here at Kaerwell is basically an onboarding specialist, and also I'm one of the senior key account managers. What that means is basically the high end customers or enterprise level customers that we bring on. I kind of hold their hands, walk them through the process of onboarding and getting them established as a customer. Because what we find is difficult for most people is transitioning from in-office distribution to having a company handle that distribution. A lot of people fear that they lose control. And if anything, they gain more control by having us. One, they cut their cost, but two, they have direct line of sight with an extreme amount of technology that most people could not have in an in-office practice setting, right? So they don't lose any control. But Kaerwell does tens of thousands of deliveries and shipments every month, in specifically the supplement sector. So we only focus on supplements. So GCMP is huge for us, which is basically the conducting good manufacturing practices. So we have like logs. We know who's coming and going. The warehouse is on lockdown. So we don't just let anybody come into the facilities. We're temperature controlled because we're in Florida. We also are humidity controlled, right? So there's a lot of factors that go into products clumping. And because we focus primarily on supplements, its product efficacy is important for us as it is for our clients, right? So extending shelf life and making sure that their products are in good hands are our utmost. And of course, efficiencies, right? Being able to get product out the door same day, being able to receive product same day. Those are like huge, massively huge things for us because most 3PLs, third party, logistic companies, they don't receive product right away. Product comes in and it sits in their dock for sometimes 3, 4, 5 days before it's ready for distribution. We pride ourselves in the fact that as soon as it lands, it's instantly available for distribution. If not that day, the next business day, it's available for distribution. So I know I kind of went off a little bit, but there's obviously questions you guys want to ask, and I'll kind of hit them off one by one as we go. But that's just a little bit about Kaerwell and a little bit about what I do here.
Yeah, it's
so cool. I actually checked to see how many shipments we made a month, and it ended up coming out to be right around like 4,200. And I was just like, the level that you guys are executing at, I was like, I don't even know how. Like, it's got to seem like a madhouse there.
You know what? It's organized chaos. So it's incredible because we have a small facility, but a massive operation within a small facility. right? So the number you mentioned, that's a typical Monday afternoon, right? Like we can ship out, we can ship out, 4 or 5,000 products with the blink of an eye. 15,000 products is probably our limitation, where it's like all hands on deck, everybody's crazy. And to your point, the atmosphere feels like buzz, like it's just everything is pulsing, right? Is that consistent and sustainable? No, but that's like Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
Yeah.
Like, that's like our breaking point is right around, probably 15,000. But you know what, to that point, if we needed to make it consistent, it's easy for us to scale a working model, right? So we have a pretty good, fine oiled machine. And I would say probably efficiency is one of the number one things we focus on because of how many orders fly in and out of here. And here's the cool part. I don't know how you guys measure error rates, or, we call them not error rates, but well, yeah, they are error rates. But what we're looking at is how many orders are coming in that are error rates that are out of our control, meaning they're carrier related error rates. Like when a product leaves our facilities and they go into the back of a UPS truck, yes, UPS is an extension of us, but they're their own company. So if they break a package, they drop a package, it's ultimately on them. We'll submit a claim, we'll help file the claim to get your reimbursement, but that's not really an error that we can say is an error on our part, right? That's more of a carrier related error. But what we consider errors are like mispicks. Right? If we pick the wrong product that's going in a box, that's an error on our part, right? It's a missed opportunity. I will tell you, we measure these things daily. We have ops meetings every single morning where we're looking at our issues. We call them issue errors, same thing. But we look at our issue logs and we look to see how many of those same issues are repetitive. We run at a 0.02%. Literally, that's our error rate, 0.02%. And that is an ongoing, and there's never a day where we have the same repetitive error from a previous day. Because again, we pride ourselves in efficiencies, and when we find a hole, we plug it. And we have enough manpower, one, two, technology, to be able to find these little controls that we can move, these little levers, where it's like, okay, this is because we had the similar product side by side. We have a 30 cap and a 60 cap. And when they went and they pulled the 60 cap, not the 30, right? You may not think that's a big problem because the customer got extra, but it is a big problem because it plays with your profitability, right? So for us, we put those two products in very different locations, so that type of error could never happen again. So if we find things like that, those are little levers. It's funny because in the meeting this morning, I heard the co-founder of Ilo mention that to take a rocket ship from Earth to the moon is a bunch of little tiny tweaks. It's not massive tweaks that get it to go on course. It's very little tweaks. And for us, those little tweaks are those adjustments we talk about, moving product from one location to another to prevent a picker from picking one product over the other, right? So little things like that are huge with efficiencies for us.
Yeah, I think so well said. Another way of maybe saying that is like the whole, there's not a silver bullet. It's like 5,000 golden BBs. It's just a bunch of like micro things that ultimately add up over time. So I think that's
100%.
That's well said. Although getting a rocket to the moon sounds like a lot of big stuff too. But so one question I would kind of pick your brain about is like, your role, in onboarding. It sounds like you do a lot with like enterprise, bigger companies. But when people find you is maybe different than maybe from your perspective when they should find you, right? So meaning, enterprise companies might find you because they've just reached the absolute breaking point, but maybe from your perspective, you really wish that, hey, they came to us 6 months ago, 12 months ago, like this is overdue. And I know you work a lot with like the bigger accounts, but where would you say like there's, gain for some of the smaller accounts or like up and coming accounts where like, hey, you don't have to be this enterprise account for it to make sense to consider a 3PL like Kaerwell?
Yeah, that's a great question, Chris. And honestly, for us, we look at the magic number is 20. If you're doing at least 20 shipments per month, there's enough room where profitability should become paramount. You should be looking at opportunity costs that are wasted, right? So one of those opportunity costs is paying retail for the product. That's just crazy because you could buy it wholesale, ship it to us, and then you instantly go from 30% to 50%. That's just one lever.
Mhm.
The other lever, which people don't even think about, and I think we had this discussion when I was out there, Logan, is the actual shipping. So
Right.
most people put this off and they don't even think about this because for them, it's just normal to just walk into UPS and pay 12 or 13 bucks to ship a product overnight or to ship a product ground or 2 day. Well, think about the level of volume that we're producing out of here. We have UPS and FedEx coming in here every single day, fighting for the business. We do not control it. And that's the best part about what we do because there is not a single human in this building that can say, this order is going to UPS, that order is going to FedEx. It is completely running on all tech. It's an algorithm that determines where your order is routed. And the only trigger is economics. Which carrier is cheaper? Bottom line. That's the only thing we're looking for. If you're sending a package 2 days, there's a multitude of carriers that we could send it through. But which carrier is going to be the cheapest? Because 2 days is 2 days, right? But which one's going to get it there cheaper? That's the only thing we look at, economics. So to give you an example, this past month, we had a battle between FedEx and UPS as we do every month, right? So we were looking at the numbers yesterday and Logan was like, numbers are great. So we were looking at numbers. The average shipping cost, and we're talking about globally as a company, we do a ton of wholesale, which is more than 11 items in an order, right? So the average shipping cost is $8.06. Incredible, incredible when you consider the amount of volume we're doing. But now let's factor in what really matters to your question, the lower levels. The people sending out 2 or 3 items in an order, or for that matter, 1 item in an order. You guys want to guess what the average shipping on that is? Take a guess.
I'm going to guess you're going to wow and be like really low single digits, but I'm going to go kind of like 380.
Woo! 387. You were so close.
No kidding.
$3.87.
Wow.
And here's the other fact. 47% of the orders were routed through UPS. Why? Because they have mail innovation. Mail innovation is a massive lever that gives us under 2 pounds, which again, average order 2 to 3 items falls below 2 pounds, right? Unless they're shipping out protein powders or collagen or, stuff like that. But typically speaking, the average order is between 2 or 3 pounds, or 2 pounds. And that's going to route through mail innovations at an average of $3.87. So tell me, an average practitioner that's shipping out of their practice, they're losing money on orders now. 20 orders is the cutoff because that 20 orders, there's enough proof of concept where they can benefit from the shipping aspect alone, let alone going and getting the product wholesale. So 20 is the magic number.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's super helpful. So 387 is the shipping, but then also, correct me if I'm wrong, like in you guys also have like a pick fee in addition, or how does that kind of work from a
Great question.
Which again, I'm all for the math, so explain why the pick fee still makes sense financially, because I think there's a ton of opportunity costs there that
oh my gosh,
speak to.
Amazing. Yes, great question, because this is really what meets for us what makes us separate from every other 3PL company out there. So our $5 per order fee covers all of your operational costs. It covers your warehousing. It covers your picking, your packaging. So the box that we use, the filler material, whether it's popcorn, bubble wrap, hex paper, whatever we're using to obviously make sure your products get there safe. It also covers refrigeration and ice packs if you want to send your products out with ice packs. So it's a one flat fee for all of your operational cost. Now, that fee, fun fact, has not changed in 10 years. Even through inflation, that fee has not changed. Actually, the funny thing is we had a meeting today because we have a huge brand that we're looking to bring on board. And one of the questions they asked is, in the next 5 years, do you guys see that rate changing? And the owner of the company literally said, the rate hasn't changed in 10 years. And the reason that Kaerwell is so appealing is because of that $5 per order. That is not changing anytime soon.
It's like your Costco hot dog.
It seriously is. I mean, it's incredible because that's the hook. When people hear that and they're like, well, what's the catch? Well, I'll tell you what, there is no catch because we don't lock you into a contract. If you decide after a week that this isn't, for whatever reason, this isn't worth your time, ship your product back to yourself at our discounted rate. No harm, no foul. We don't want to hold you hostage. We don't want to hold your products hostage. If you don't think this is a good fit, then by all means, take it in-house and prove to us that you have a better solution. Because plenty have tried, and I'll guarantee that's a boomerang. We call them boomerangs because they leave and then they come back. Because they realize, oh, well, maybe I can do this in-house. Those that don't start in-house assume that their operation has grown big enough for them to open their own facility and do it in-house. Doesn't work, because they realize really fast when they start adding up the cost, how much do they need to pay people to do the work? How much do they pay for boxes? How much do they pay for labels, label printers, right? You start factoring all these costs in. $5 looks really sexy, especially when you don't even pay the $5 until the order ships. That's the key. So your product can sit here for, as long as it needs to until you start ready to get production moving. And once production starts moving, you're paying $5 on exit. That's incredible. It's incredible.
The lack of headache for $5 is there's a ton of value there. What you kind of spoke to it, and I don't know how many maybe that listen or pharmacies, et cetera, kind of have maybe a perspective on this, but I guess in the D2C marketing space, I've heard so many horror stories from like 3PLs of just like can't get inventory out, or just like deliverability issues, and like different things across the board. And so like if you find a good home from a 3PL perspective, like it sounds like it's pretty rare. From my experience and the people that I talk to, like I've heard of a lot more that have tried 3, 4, 5 than like have found one and it's great. So I mean, I've transparently only heard good things about Kaerwell. So I definitely I don't know if people quite grasp how bad it is with 3PLs, because they just pop up anywhere. And to your point, I think everyone thinks that it's just easy to do, but there's a lot more nuance and there's a lot more that goes into it.
So Chris, you have no idea. I told you I'm a key account manager, right? So I take all of the crap that comes from all these other 3PLs. So I see it every day. I see companies that we call them bouncers. They bounce from one place to another looking for that magic bullet. When they come in here, they realize how good they really have it, because they've already been down the rabbit hole and they've been nickeled and dimed and been charged for receiving and had products sitting on a receiving dock for 5 days, but yet they're being billed to receive. That's a complete mind shock to me. Like, you're paying somebody to receive your product, but yet it's sitting on their dock for 5 days. We don't charge for receiving, and it is instant, because we make a promise that we guarantee that your order will go out by 2:00 every single day, same day shipment. So in order for us to guarantee that, we have to be able to receive as fast as we deliver our shipments, right? So at the end of the day, one of the biggest levers that we pull with people that are coming from another 3PL is, one, there's no contract with us. Almost every other 3PL, you have a 1-year commitment. Why? It's your product. Why should you commit to a year if you don't like them, right? So there's not going to be that issue with us, because again, there's no contract. There's an agreement, and that agreement is clearly defined. Here are the rules of engagement. This is what Kaerwell is promising. In writing, this is what we're going to do. If at any point you feel we are not delivering, pull your product. We are more than happy to give you our rate and set up the delivery for you to get your product back in your control. It's a pretty bold move, but we've been in business for a long time and we can back that move, right? And to your point, I see a ton of, and I'm not going to name drop any 3PLs, but man, there are a lot of people that are unhappy with their distribution. And the first thing I say to them is, print out an invoice and send it to me. I send it over to my guy, Adrian. Adrian takes a look at it, and within like an hour, he's able to produce a cost comparison side by side. And he's able to say, wow, there's a no-brainer here. Here it is. Boom. The numbers don't lie, right? People generally do, but numbers don't. So when we can look at real numbers, we're able to put a cost comparison side by side and say, hey, there's proofs in the pudding. Here's the reason why you should move to Kaerwell, right? Shouldn't be a sell, because we don't sell anything. It's just presenting facts and letting you make a decision whether or not it's the best decision for your business. So to your point, we just do that. We give them the facts and let them make the choice.
One of the things, Jeremy, you mentioned kind of inventory a few times, and how is your inventory being tracked? So let's say I send you 30 bottles or 100 bottles, doesn't really matter. And I'm consistently going through maybe 10 or 15 bottles a week. How do I know when to send you more product? How do I know when I'm getting lower, when something's going to expire out? How is that information transmitted back to the owner of the product?
I love it. So I told you before that Kaerwell is a very tech-driven company, right? So we use a lot of technology, and part of the technology that we use is twofold. One, we're granularly showing you how many different lots of a product do you have, right? So you may order 15 bottles a week, but this week's order may be different than last week's order, right? Your lot numbers may be significantly different, which means your expiration dates are different. So we store everything based on lot number for two reasons. One, so you know when a product is expiring. But the bigger reason, to be GCMP compliant, you have to be able to have the lot number for recall. If a manufacturer says that there was a wrong ingredient added, most 3PLs have no idea how to recall that product. Why? Because they don't use lot numbers, right? So they have no idea how to recall the product. For us, everything that's in our warehouse is based on lot numbers. So we can instantly go pinpoint a product and say, here it is, pull it off the shelf, let you distribute all the other products, but keep this one aside because this one's being recalled, right? We also use what's called inventory forecasting, which means we are going to predict heavily, based on previous orders, how many units you should have on hand for 7, 21, and 35, 45 days. You're going to determine those numbers. Usually in the beginning, we set it to like 7, 14, 21. After about a month, you're going to say, hey, Jeremy, I'm getting these alerts every day that's showing me my inventory levels. Can we kick this back since I'm usually buying inventory on a 2-week basis? Can we kick it back so that it first alerts me when we're, say, 45 days out, and then 30 days, and then ultimately when we have 2 weeks remaining of inventory? So we have that logic. We also have a very unique logic that's based for higher volume on quantity. So we can identify a specific threshold where if it falls below that threshold, you're notified. And it's a color-coded system, so like a heat map. So it'll show you, hey, you got inventory, but you're running low. And then when you start to really run low, that heat map gets red hot, and it tells you time to order now or you're going to run out. So we forecast when you should be ordering. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that because you get that forecast, you're just going to impulsively buy, because ultimately you know how fast your products are going to move. You recommend some products more than others. So even though the system is telling you you have enough left, 3 bottles left, you may say, okay, well, there's only 2 protocols that those 3 bottles go in. There's only 2 patients that are on those. I'm good. I don't need to order that. Even though the system's telling me to order it, I don't need to order that particular product. So to answer your question, we absolutely do 2 different types of logics when it comes to forecasting and letting you know when it's time to order more product.
What, we've talked about ordering and shipping things out. What systems does Kaerwell integrate with as far as like, how do you know that I even got an order? How is that transmitted to you?
Great question, man. So we connect with over 100 different e-commerce, right? So 100 different e-commerce platforms. We're using a REST API, which again, I'm a tech freak. So most people are like, API, what's that? So basically it's a unique way of saying we have a door that opens and closes and information flows through, right? So we connect, for instance, with Shopify, which is one of the few e-commerce that are out of the box, very easy integration. We send the customers exactly what's needed. They send us back our criterias, the credentials. We put it in, we connect it, make sure that it's running. We do some test orders. They see the test orders coming in the system, and then they're ready to go live. Now, we also integrate with, as I said, 100 different platforms. So pretty much any platform you can think of, Amazon, Magento, Wix, BigCommerce, WooCommerce, every single one that you could probably think of, we connect into.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Gives you flexibility, gives you options.
Yeah, it does.
So I don't know kind of the specifics that maybe you can or can't speak to on this. So I'll keep it more so general. But as a part of onboarding, I'm sure you noticed that there are maybe differences of the type of questions that enterprise accounts or budding growing accounts that like, probably 6, 12, 18 months down the road are going to be, awesome accounts, high movers for Caerwell. And, maybe some of the accounts that maybe will be a little bit more stagnant. I guess from your perspective, your vantage point, the conversations that you have, like what are some of the things that, whether it be character traits or like team or questions that they ask you, like anything that kind of jumps out from you from like accounts that do really well and grow and not just are, maybe getting consistent orders through Caerwell, which, is fine, but more so like they're growing, they're pushing the limits, they're coming back to Jeremy and saying, hey, we're growing. Like what do you see with those accounts that are doing that versus the accounts that, their order volume doesn't really change?
Minutia, man. So it's the same thing with any kind of business. Usually you find like, that people worry about small stuff, right? They're worried about their logo. They're worried about the appearance of the store's not the right color pink. Like silly things like that. I call it getting stuck in the busyness, not the business, right? So like when you're worried about like the busy stuff, those things are never going to help you move the needle. You just got to go. And the people that I see that do really, really well, one, they're very focused and data driven, right? They start off with very small amounts of products, they build their protocols, and then they grow. Slow you grow, fast you crash, right? When we see people come in and they jump in with, 100 different SKUs out of the gate, they have no proof of concept. They just shelled out a ton of cash. Usually those people don't last very long because they're impulse, right? They base impulse and justify it with logic. Yeah. So they don't generally last. The other thing I see is this, like the longer you're in practice, the bigger your book of business gets, right? But the thing is if you're pushing it in the right direction and you're basically becoming an influencer, you're putting yourself out there, the knowledge that you have, you're going to grow exponential, regardless of how long you've been in practice, right? The people who have been in practice for 10, 15, 20 years, naturally, they should be doing well because they've got 15, 20 years behind them, and all of those patients have compounded over that time. Versus a brand new practitioner that's just getting started today, maybe has a phenomenal brain and can articulate everything that they've learned, but they're afraid to because they're just camera shy. They don't want to get in front of the camera, right? Or they don't want to write a blog post because they think people are going to be read it and just hammer them on it, right? So those are the action takers are the ones that I see that really just forget about what the crowd thinks. They just focus on medicine and making people better. They focused on what they learned and they share that information with everyone and become influencers. Those are the ones that I see succeed versus the ones that are just hung up on the small stuff.
Yeah, I think you hammer on a lot of points that we love to mention, but I want to clip this honestly. So I'm going to ask it and then just like wait for you to give me the perfect answer. But how do you handle, because we fight this a little bit, but like some people believe they need to have, all the products private labeled, all the products, whether you contract manufacture, like they need to have a big catalog and they tie up a bunch of cash with a bunch of products because they think they need to have every single option for every, kind of fringe patient that they may or may not have. For the brands that their products expire on your shelves or they don't move and, there's issues, what percentage of them would you say like have too many products versus they have very few products? They just did a poor job at selling them.
Yeah. It's a big difference, man. So like those that jump in it and so we like to say phases, phase in and phase out. So if you come on board and you have 100 products that you're using in your catalog, right? You're recommending 100 products. When you start the private label game, take the top 10, start there, build that proof of concept, build that library of products and do it in phases. Right? Because if not, you're going to end up getting stuck holding on to all this expired product. Why? Because it didn't move, right? You got 2 years to move it. And to that point, if it's taken 2 years and you haven't moved that product, what does that tell you about your protocols, right? You focused on the masses. And you know what they say, when you speak to everybody, you speak to nobody. So you just focus and hyper focus on the immediate needs, the top 10%. Those are the ones you really focus on, those products, and then grow from there. That's the advice I give to people when they first start and they're graduating into private label. And truth be told, we're kind of the stop because we don't just work with enterprise level accounts. I mean, we work with a lot of brand new practitioners because, again, I only told you about one arm of Kaerwell, which is our fulfillment. But we also have the dispensary, which is where most people start. They start in a dispensary model where they just get paid a percentage of the sale to make those recommendations. But what that really does is it gives them almost like a trampoline. It gives them that bouncing board to get into these protocols and know what works, what doesn't work, what moves, what doesn't move. And then they can make educated decisions, data-driven decisions. So I'm on a lot of that side of it where it's like they don't even know they're ready yet. And I'm reaching out to them saying, hey, by the way, I don't know if you know this, but your top 10 percenters should be moved to private label so you're not competing with resellers, right? Like, perfect example, there are brands that are going on Amazon right now. They're literally cutting DTC out the window because they're going direct to consumer themselves. Mm-hmm. So they have these doctors and practitioners all along that have been promoting product and basically building their brands, right? And now they're just going to cut them off and say, we're going on Amazon and we're going to have and be your direct competitor. Wow. I mean, what's the only option to get around that? Private label, right? Mm-hmm. That's the only option because now you can literally protect your brand and your hard work because you're putting these patients on these protocols. Yep. So if they can just go on Amazon and buy it, why do they need you, right? And to that point, what most people are doing is self-medicating. They don't have blood work to make the decision. They're on YouTube or TikTok and they see somebody talking about D3 with K2. You got belly gut. You got this, you got that. Take some D3 K2. Well, how much do I take and how often do I take it? One guy's telling me to take it once a day. This other random YouTuber is telling me to take it twice a day. But then I go see a doctor and the doctor says, hey, wait a minute. Your blood work says you're good. You don't even need that. But yet you're taking it. Why? Right? So it's like there's all these nuances that go into it. So your question is fully loaded. And I say the best answer is phases. Start with, again, small you grow, fast you crash, right? So they start all in and they end up having a ton of products that expire. Usually those people will never private label again. It's kind of like a day trader that fails at it and says, I'll never buy another stock as long as I live, right? Yeah. Because they failed at it. It's kind of the same thing. When product expires, they're like, I'll never buy another.
That's a really good point.
When
I first came to Keystone, one of the biggest issues is we had every single product you could think of. And you know, within the first 3 months, I was like, why do we have so much inventory? And then 6 months later, we were having all this expired out inventory and it was thousands of dollars. And so I just told my upper manager, I just said, we're not carrying everything. We're going to carry what moves. Anything else that doesn't move is either going to have one bottle or what we're going to do is we're going to special order everything. And, you know, I don't have a problem with getting that or having the patient say, hey, I want 2 bottles. I'm going to keep one on the shelf. I'm going to pay for it ahead of time or whatever they want to do. But that was huge. And then now we finally realized, okay, when we went to private label, we did that very same thing that you're talking about is it is 1 to 2 products. You know, initially we did like 4, right? Because you know there's going to be 4 big movers. But now it's 1 or 2 products to fit within a certain niche that we know we're going to recommend a lot of that kind of fits within a really good model and you know is going to produce really good therapeutic benefits. And so I cannot foot stomp that enough because there are so many individuals. I just talked to a guy today out of Sarasota and he was like, oh yeah, like I'm going to private label everything. I said, don't do it. I said, private label 5 items at most. Be super comfortable with those because he hasn't started he's just opening up his practice. I said, just do your main 5. Worst case scenario, you switch it over. You tell your patients, hey, I like the product so much. I ended up putting my own name on it. Hey, it's still the same thing you've been getting. You're going to love it anyway.
Yep. 100%, man. I actually just talked to a doctor today. And he's been a doctor for a while. He's got a lot of products that he recommends. But here's the advice I gave him. I told him make 1 video around your best product. And he was like, if I was stuck on an island, actually, I asked him, if you were stuck on an island and you could only take 1 supplement with you, what would it be? And he was like, 1 supplement? I said, yeah. He said, magnesium. And I was like, why? So he tells me, right? And I was like, there's your product, man. Start with that one. Make a video, make a sales page, start with one product. Don't have to shell out a ton of capital, prove the concept that it works, and then rinse and repeat. And then you can start building protocols and all that other stuff. But for now, just build one product. There's nothing wrong with you selling other brands' products. Get the patients on it, get them healthy, get them feeling good. And then you've got that proof to now jump into private label and start private labeling. But you don't need to do even 10. To your point, you could do 3 or 4 or even 1, right? And we do plenty of stores that are literally just one product stores. And to be 100% honest with you, I think those are the most successful because they have the least amount to lose. They only got one product. If anything, they'll consume it themselves. You know what I mean? They're buying 12 of them or whatever. You know, if they're going through ortho and they're buying 360 bottles of it and they can't sell it, you get a bottle, but they don't have to worry about it because they only got one product. You know what I mean? So I think that's the bee's knees is starting with a small number of products and then growing from there.
Yeah, I think that's really well said. A couple of things that I've said before on calls, I think kind of aligns with that. Is like to your island question. If you're new, especially like to the I guess guy you were talking to, Logan out of Sarasota, like you don't have a ton of trust yet. So like maybe there's times where you maybe need to lean on some brands because like they have more authority than you do, they have more trust than you do. So like you leverage kind of the brand a little bit. But then also if you private label, I think sometimes something that I present, I guess, or mention is like people are going to try you out with like maybe a hint of skepticism if it's like the first time that they're coming across you. So like if to your point, you're putting your best foot forward, your best product forward that you private label, like there's a higher likelihood that they're going to have a great experience with the product and then be like, hey, what else do you got? Versus if you maybe private label a bunch of products and maybe you're not super clear of like their benefits or like how to articulate the benefits, because part of it is like the perception of the person that bought it and like what context did they buy it under. And if you don't do a good job of like the context and how they should notice the benefits or how they should notice the pains being alleviated or how quickly they're going to notice a result, they might buy with the wrong expectations and then like they're done with you if you didn't have alignment there. So I think to your point, to the both of you, to those listening, if you stick to like the products that the ins and outs of that, like you feel really, really confident in. The other point too is like the conviction that you'll speak with. Like I think a lot of people private label just a private label, but like how convicted are you in the products and how it actually will help your patients? Yeah. And so like don't just look at a bunch of other stores or a bunch of other brands and think you need those products. Like also have products that you've really seen help patients that you feel really confident about because the tonality of your voice and how you talk about it and the stories you're able to tell with your content or to your patients are drastically different than in a scenario where it's like, yeah, this is a good product. Here's what it's good for. You're the first patient buying it. Yeah, it's great. Like there's just a different level of like authority or, conviction that you'll have. So I think starting small has so many reasons why you should do it, but hopefully we hit on a couple.
And you know what, to your point too, Chris, when it comes to marketing, I think it's so much easier to market when you have a small level of SKUs, right? You got 5 or 6, 7 products. It's a lot easier to build a narrative to market those 5 or 6 products than a catalog of 100 products, right? Like, just think about what I said earlier, making a video around each and every product you have. How many people actually do that? Very, very small amounts of people do that, right? But see, to me, that would be like an aha moment where it's like, hey, you should take this if, and boom, they're a doctor, they're a practitioner. They know the reasons why you should take that product. But see, I also think that there's a lot of people that are self-medicating, that are taking products, supplements specifically, that they don't need. And they're literally urinating 90% of it out of their bodies, right? Because their body doesn't need it. So they're like, oh my gosh, why is my pee neon yellow? Because you don't need what you're consuming. But yet you're just burning money, or in this case, you're shoving it and flushing it down the toilet, right? But see, that's the thing. If these doctors actually made these videos, even contrarian marketing is great marketing, right? Here's why you shouldn't take this product. I think that is probably more important, especially in today's market, than why you should take this product. But see, people don't think that way.
Yeah.
Right? Most people just think of the science behind it and, this patient fits in this mold. The marketing behind it is just as important, and telling people why they should or should not be taking it. When you have 4 products, it's so easy to make those videos.
Yeah, 100%. It's like it's just like sales in general, where, you kind of spoke to earlier, hey, send me your invoice and like, we'll break it down. We'll give you a cost comparison. Like you make the decision, like largely, whether like a tactic or not, you're selling off your back foot. And it very much so comes across of like, I don't really need you, but I'm going to present the information. If you want to move forward with this, great. But if you don't want to move forward with this, great. I really don't care. Like, it's almost like a level of like, again, I don't need you, but whether it's relationships, whether it's sales, if you sound needy, if like I can smell the needy and the desperation on your breath, like I naturally am going to back up and create distance. And so I think a lot of times when people make videos, it is a lot more like desperation and like hard
Yeah.
sell. But the content that performs best and what's fascinating is like taking a look at brands sometimes doing like deep dives on their best ads. Like the ads that don't look like ads perform best. It's like the random woman on a Tuesday in her bathroom that does like a teeth. I've seen like the oil, what is it? Like the oil pulling on teeth videos.
Yep.
Where it's like, hey, take this product. And she's like got terrible teeth and she's doing this oil pulling. And she's like, even for me, this is unbelievable. It's shot on like a Galaxy like 2007 phone. I don't even know it's a thing, but like that ad converted so well and was just a money printer for the brand because it felt super genuine and real because it really was. And so same thing if like you're a practitioner, a pharmacist, like if you try to sell, you won't sell. It's like just being helpful, kind of like educational type content and just like pretending like you don't need the sale and sometimes not talking about products, but continuing to kind of position yourself as like this health expert that sometimes tells you to take a supplement, but sometimes doesn't. Like you'll be far better off in the long run. But I think like people get too short-sighted, they want it now and they damage themselves in that mindset.
And you know what, Chris? Doctors are doctors. They're not marketers. If they were, they'd be marketers, right?
For sure.
So like sometimes there's that disconnect there where it's like you explain that to them and it's like contrarian. What do you mean by that? I don't want to talk negative about the product, but you're not. You're exposing a completely different audience that you're not used to speaking to, which are the people you really should be speaking to, because those are the people that are not taking the product the right way in the first place, right? Yep. They're the ones that need the help. So, that's the thing. Like, I can go on for days about marketing. Like, there's so many different things that we can touch on that side of it. But again, I don't want to digress and start going down that rabbit hole because I can be there all night.
No, yeah, you're good. You're good. I naturally go that way, but partially because, like, we've gone to conferences and different things, and my general takeaway most times is like, it's not for a lack of like expertise that some of these practices don't do well with supplements. Like they're, these providers, these pharmacists, like they struggle with the communication, they struggle with the marketing. Like they get beat by people that know a whole lot less than they do, but they struggle with maybe the tech, they struggle with maybe the business skills, they struggle with some of the marketing. Like those are the areas that they get beat. It's not like the science, so part of like the maybe overarching theme is like Kaerwell can be a great solution for advancing the tech, getting some better people in your corner that can advise you with maybe some of the ways to grow your business. Like in having some more conversations with people like Jeremy or companies like Kaerwell might be a little bit better use of your time sometimes than digging into another textbook about like maybe the benefits of magnesium. And I know that like steps on some toes a little bit, but I think, it's easy, like, perfect example. Like marketing is something I really, really enjoy. It's not hard for me to pick up a marketing textbook, right? Or like a marketing book or pick up a podcast. Same thing for providers, same thing for pharmacists. Like you want to learn about the things that you want to learn about, that like you enjoy learning about or that you're comfortable learning about. And it doesn't make you feel like less superior. But, comparatively, if I get into like financials, like that's not as much of a strong suit as like marketing. So it might be a little bit more uncomfortable, and therefore I do less of it. But that's also like the skill that I need to learn next. So same thing
Yeah.
for these providers. Like, it's uncomfortable to get in front of camera. It's uncomfortable to probably talk to, Kaerwell about logistics, and maybe telling Susan that like you're going to ship orders out of a another facility because it's going to be better turnaround times and it's better for your patients. Like, those are some uncomfortable things that you might have to do inside of your business. But if you want to grow, which hopefully that's why you're listening, or that's why you're talking to Kaerwell, like, these are some of those tough pills to swallow, if you will, to stay on the kind of healthcare train that like you need to
Absolutely.
take.
Yeah.
Now
I agree.
to kind of bring back to care, I have
go
got one
ahead.
question I've got to ask, because it's been burning in my brain here for a while. So what happens like in a state of emergency to the products that are held at the warehouse? So let's say a hurricane comes through. I only say that because Florida and hurricanes kind of go hand in hand. What kind of protocols do you guys have for like those types of emergencies or power outages, or what happens to the products, especially the ones that are refrigerated, because those are the ones I worry about the most?
Yeah, no, definitely. So one, because we are GCMP compliant and FDA approved, we have to have certain measures in place. We're in Florida, the hurricane capital of the world, right? So we have to have certain measures in place. Obviously, when it comes down to it, generators, that's a no-brainer, right? We have to have generators because we have refrigerators. And that refrigerator we have is a modular refrigerator. It's a walk-in. It's massive. I think I showed you this one. It's massive. I mean, it can hold, I don't even know how many tens of thousands of products. I mean, it's huge. We have to have generators in place. The other side of it is of course, we have to have a controlled environment. So I don't know if you guys know anything about the way buildings are built in Florida, but they base it on Miami-Dade hurricane proofing, right? Which basically means that the buildings have to be built with cement, right? So that they can withhold hurricanes. The issue with hurricanes is not so much the wind, it's the rainfall. That's really what it comes down to, is the flooding that comes down to it, right? So one, we're elevated. We are not on ground level for that very reason, right? Because most warehouses, they're flat. They don't need to have loading ramps. Well, we are elevated for the flood protection. So we are above ground. So we are not going to ever have a situation, unless we get 5 feet of rain, which we'd be dealing with a tsunami, not a hurricane. But to that point, we don't have a flooding issue, right? We also have insurance, one. And two, we tell every single customer that's sending product to us that they should also insure the product, right? To have it double insured, they should also insure the products themselves. We have a great agent, and we can absolutely refer, which we've done in the past. We've referred our agent off and just said, hey, match the coverage. Whatever Kaerwell has, match our coverage, because we want to make sure that our individual products are protected as much so as the blanket policy that Kaerwell has. So we do have protection in place for that. And the other thing is, too, when it comes to staff, that's the most important part. The governor locks down the state. Whenever there's a hurricane, usually, if it's big enough for people not to be moving, as much as we want to get supplements out the door, we can't move, right? We're stuck indoors, which means our staff can't come to work. And obviously protecting our staff is paramount, right? We're looking for that more than anything else in the event of a natural disaster. So we're not going to have staff here to worry about, anybody getting hurt or locked into the building. And product also won't go out that day, but it doesn't mean that we're going to not be able to get product out the next working day, which typically, and I don't know if you guys know any history about Central Florida and hurricanes, but by the time it hits us, it's already hit landfall. We're in the middle of the state. So for a hurricane to hit us that could cause any real significant damage, it would have to be a catastrophic hurricane, right? And we've not had one of those since Hurricane Andrew or Hurricane Bob, right? We're talking maybe 2 decades ago. To that point, we do have measures in place, Logan. Yeah, and we just pray to God that those things don't happen, but your products are safe in the event that those things do happen. The worst thing is your product may not go out that day. That would be the worst thing that could happen, is your product won't go out that day. Yeah. But also, I just want to let you guys know too, and I kind of showed you quickly when we walked through the warehouse that day, but we do not have any products sitting on the floor or near a window for that exact reason, right? Because again, maybe we do get a tsunami. We don't want any products that are sitting on the floor with the potential of a flood coming in and wiping out those products. So that's one thing. The second thing is we have no windows. So there's no windows at all in our warehouse, which means you don't have the concern of a tree smashing through a window and causing, an avenue for water to come into the warehouse. So that's another thing too. And we're very meticulous about, the location that we have for that purpose.
Yeah, seems well thought out. All right, so Logan's got his burning question. I got a burning question.
It did.
Did that answer your question, by the way, Logan? Awesome.
So it's kind of like a two-parter, because I want to make sure I get both of them answered. So I'll kind of put them together. So for brands, there's obviously supplements, like there's seasonality to it, and there's also some accelerated sales periods, holiday promotions, things like that, Labor Day, Memorial Day, and especially Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Now, I think a lot of people that probably are at Kaerwell or maybe listen to the podcast or newer accounts, they don't know what a sales holiday can be like for a brand with like proper marketing and some things that kind of give you some leverage to be able to take advantage of those weekends. So could you speak to a little bit the Black Friday, Cyber Monday kind of maybe almost environment, but more so like delivery times around that period? Because I think very easily you can get super behind. But maybe you guys get stuff out like crazy. So that would be kind of the part one. And then with the sales promotions, and this could be like an all around year thing, like what flexibility from a packaging perspective does a brand have? Because there's a difference between like getting someone a package and then maybe like delivering the experience. So like from inserts to bubble wraps to custom packaging, like what can you do? Again, that could just be for a holiday, but that might be something that you want to do on an ongoing basis.
I'll hit the last question first because I think it's kind of ties all in. So one, it doesn't have to be just a holiday or an event. It could be every day. You can send custom tape. What a lot of people do for Black Friday, Cyber Monday is they order tape for the event. So they'll order a tape with their logo on it that says Black Friday. They'll order a sticker that'll say Black Friday promo. So those are things that they can add to the package, as well as adding thank you cards. So they can add a 4x6 little postcard that has a QR code on it that says, save 10% through the holidays or whatever the case may be.
So there's complete flexibility sending you guys
100%. 100%. We add it as part of your workflow. So essentially you could send us literally for every event. We have people who do that where they say, hey, 4th of July is coming. We're going to run a 4th of July sale. And they send us postcards just for 4th of July, and everything is red, white, and blue. Their tape is red, white, and blue. The stickers are red, white, and blue. They do Cancer Awareness Month, where everything is pink. They send us pink thank you cards, pink ribbons, all of this. Yes, absolutely. We will facilitate any type of packaging requests that you guys send to us or that a customer sends to us. We add it as part of your workflow, and we let you know as an inventory item when that item is running low. Right? So it could be event-based or it could be forever-based. You could have just a normal thank you card that goes out every single day. But then during the holiday, you say, hey guys, pause our normal thank you card and instead put our Christmas thank you card with the dog and the family saying thank you for your order in our Christmas package. No problem. We'll switch them out. And then when Christmas is over, we'll switch them back. So we do that all day, every single day. Now, to your other point, I love events because I'm a buzz guy. I love when I walk in the warehouse and it's just all hands on deck. Everything is moving and grooving. It's like a fine oil machine. We're using an algorithm to determine what is the best way for a picker to pick the cart that they're pulling. So a cart could have 40 boxes on it, which are 40 individual orders. That picker is scanning each and every one of those boxes. They grab that cart and they have a little kind of phone on their wrist that maps out where they're going so that none of the pickers are ever bumping into each other or on the same lanes, right? So it's an algorithm to determine efficiency on pick. I love seeing Black Friday, Cyber Monday because it is literally like watching a mouse on a wheel. It is the best thing ever because everyone's moving. Nobody's stopping. They go to their locations, they're scanning, and when you open up that door, it is a buzz. All you hear is beep, 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 beep from the scanners, just going crazy, just scanning. So I love that atmosphere, and we all come together as one cohesion unit during those times of the year, like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, when we're pumping out 10,000, 15,000 orders. I mean, just imagine Black Friday falls on a Friday. Then you have Saturday, Sunday, Cyber Monday. Dude, on Tuesday, we could be potentially shipping out 40,000 packages. Just think about that.
Man.
Yeah, exactly. That compound effect is real. And dude, when we open up these doors on that type of activity, it's like, holy crap. I love that. But the cool part is it's organized chaos. So it's nothing like people running around going crazy. We don't overstaff for those types of days. We just pull our team together and we say, hey guys, every day you guys come in here putting 100%. Today, we need you to put 150. That's it. We just ask everybody to do just a little bit more. They're doing the same job. They're just doing more of it. And they're doing it at a faster pace. So it's almost like for us, a way for us to test the system and see what's broken. What can we fix? What can we make better? Because we know that the volume is going to subside. And when that volume subsides, we've got a ton of data to go through and see how can we become even more efficient now that we don't have the volume that we had in these 4 or 5 days. Yep. Does that make sense? So did that answer both your questions?
Nailed them. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I mean, the Black Friday thing, I just want to witness. Kind of like if there was like a subscription, like I could pay like a couple bucks just to like watch. I personally would do that.
It's crazy, dude. You hear forklifts going, and now we got these electric ones where you don't even hear them. That kind of pisses me off because I'm like, man, I like hearing that thing beeping. But now we got these little electric ones, and they sound like Teslas. Like zoom, they like zooming in and out of lanes. So it's super cool to watch because it's like I said, it's a fine oil machine. But there's one caveat that I missed. And I think this is for the people listening going to be a real aha moment. So we know Black Friday happens the same time of year every single year. And as does Cyber Monday. We also know that there are certain events that happen the same time of year every single year. So what Kaerwell does is we put together curated email copy that we send out that are like, hey, last Black Friday, this worked like gangbusters. Here's a store that did $150,000 using this exact email copy. Copy it, paste it, send it. We give them the copy to send to their list. Literally, all they got to do is just copy and paste and send. So those are things that we do that other 3PL companies aren't going to do because they're focused on getting orders out the door. So for us, we know those are coming. So we're like, hey, a week before Black Friday, have you thought about sending a Black Friday email? If not, here's a great email copy that'll work for you. Mm-hmm. Send it. Same thing with Christmas. If you want to send a 12 days to Christmas email soap opera, here's one that worked like gangbusters last year, offering a different product on sale every day for 12 days. Boom, here it is. So we literally do the work for them and just hand it to them on a silver platter and say, battle tested, we know this works, use it. If they don't, hey, it's on them. But at least we put forth the effort to give them something that most companies won't, which is battle tested marketing material.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, I think for me, I'll recap with some eye openers for me. Like, I guess I didn't realize like how small I guess you could really get started with Kaerwell, but I think when you laid it out, like that makes a ton of sense to me. I won't name the company, but I could see where saving some 20% margin or somewhere in that neighborhood would make a ton of sense. And then, yeah, I guess I didn't realize you guys had as much flexibility on the packaging. I thought my understanding was that there wasn't, but I guess that was, again, not even like actually hearing that. I don't know where that came from. So I'm glad that you guys have all the flexibility that you have. Yeah. And then like you can kind of get started a little bit smaller because I think like just getting the foot in the door, I think, outsourcing some of the fulfillment is almost like if someone's willing to do that, that's almost a telltale that maybe they're willing to outsource to other experts for other areas of their business. And I think like some people, providers especially, like tend to just like have a control kind of like element to them where they want to control everything because they're used to controlling a lot within the context of maybe like seeing patients, but having the humility to be like, hey, they're better at us than fulfillment, or like they're better at us than marketing, or they're better at us and pick the thing. I think like that's a mindset that like is going to be helpful,
There's
So
actually one thing that we didn't talk about, which I'd like to bring up, because I
bring it
think,
up.
so look, over the last year, I've onboarded hundreds of clients and high level executives that are coming into Kaerwell for one reason. And this is the reason. And it's not just high levels, it's all levels, because after you hear this, you're going to be like, holy crap. So one of the biggest value adds that we bring to the table is the fact that we build Shopify stores. We are a tech heavy company. We have developers on staff. We can build Shopify stores in one day. Literally, one day we can build a store from start to finish for $500. It's their store. We build it, hand them the keys, it's theirs. We add all the products. We take all those descriptions, we run them through the lens of AI. So they're not science based, they're SEO driven, so that they're going to pull some type of SEO and rankings from them. Now, granted, the more effort they put into that, the more they're going to get out of it, right? But we build the store for success out of the gate. We match their brand colors. We make it look like it's part of their existing website, which is the biggest thing people come to us and say, I don't have an e-commerce. For me to go hire the company that built my website, first of all, I don't even talk to them anymore. I'm using a maintenance company to maintain my site that don't build sites. So they don't even know where to go. They go on Fiverr and they see it's $2,500 to build a store and they're like, to hell with that. So that's a huge value add when we tell people like, hey, you don't have an e-commerce? No problem. We'll build one for you. It'll take us a day to get it up and live. We connect it into our e-commerce solution through the API. So when we give you the keys, it's completely ready to go. All you got to do is tell your patients it's live. And we also set up the marketing for them. Using Shopify, we go in and create the campaigns for them and show them, hey, this is your grand opening campaign. When you're ready, click go. And they literally just upload their list, boom, send it out to everybody. We just opened up a brand new store, save 20% on your first order. Thank you. Done. So that is probably and arguably one of the biggest reasons that people make the transition to us is the fact that they don't have to think. They just have to tell us, okay, cool, do it. Here's all my products, build my store.
Yeah, I think that's such a good entry into e-commerce, because I think that can be a daunting subject for so many people, and just getting them a store and getting them started and getting them familiar with the platform too. Because, Shopify's, just kind of objectively, the biggest, the most popular, the best. I'm a big fan. We're a big fan. So just getting them going is so important and gets the wheels turning. So I think to your point, you can get it up quickly, you can get the wheels turning, and then it just goes back to how do we now sell the product? And it's an ongoing it's an ongoing process. Having the store is different than continuing to sell, but I think it's just it gets them started, right? And that's an important thing, is just getting in the game. I think I can't tell you how many times we've showed up at events or had conversations, and it's you still haven't had your store built, or you still haven't found a marketing agency, or you still haven't private labeled yet. It's just get in the game, especially
That's
with
it.
how easy you can get in the game with Shopify, or how small your minimums can be with some of the private label solutions. It's really not that costly to taste, to try.
And dude, our stores are beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful. We have designers, so we do a really, really knockout job. And one of the biggest things that we found is protocols change, right? The doctor may put a patient on not the practitioner may put a patient on a protocol and say, hey, you're going to take this 90 capsule bottle and you're going to take 3 of these for the next, 90 days. So they're going to need 1 bottle a month for the next 90 days until their blood work has to be redrawn. But now after the blood work is redrawn, the dynamics of this entire protocol may change, where now that same product, they only need to consume once a day now. That bottle, instead of it being delivered to them monthly, only needs to be delivered to them every 3 months. Well, what we found is that when we offer subscriptions to people on a monthly basis, they're going to cancel it. The minute that you tell them that they're doing better and they only need to take it once a day, they're going to be like, well, why do I need this monthly? After 2 months, they got an extra bottle. So they're going to be like, I don't need this no more. And they cancel the subscription. Well, in Shopify, we can adjust frequency now. So we can go in and say, hey, let's change this protocol from monthly to 3 months. Now they don't have to cancel their subscription. We could keep them on recovery and continue to get that subscription coming in, right? Mm-hmm. That's a huge, massive lever. Here's the other one. With Shopify, and I'm sorry to take over this, but with Shopify, there's a way to use carrier calculated rates. So what that means all I say to the customer is, if I could show you a way to make this a net zero operation, are you in? First thing they say is, well, yeah, obviously. If I don't have to pay anything to use Kaerwell, why wouldn't I be in? We use a carrier calculated rate. We add $5 to the premium, which raises it by $5. So now when they go to check out, they see UPS ground is at $11. They're only going to pay $7, $9 with the $5. They're going to pay $9 all in. Well, guess what? They're collecting an extra $2 on every single order. Now they can offer free shipping because for every 10 orders, they've collected $20, which means they can afford to offer free shipping now. Here's the other cool thing. We actually measured how many times does a patient take a paid option over a free shipping option. 62% with a 6. 62% of the time, I know, mind blowing.
They want it sooner.
Well, you know why? Because we put a psychological trigger that says free shipping delivers in 7 days. Hello? They know that free means slow. Yep. Or they see the option right below it that says UPS ground 3 days, $11. Hello? Do they want to feel better in 3 days or in 7 days? That's incredible. And I've seen people pick an overnight option and spend $52 on overnight shipping on a bottle of COQ10 that they pay $23 for or $43. And it's like, holy crap, you just paid double the price of the product for shipping. Why? Because it was available. Because that's what they wanted. They're leaving out of the country, going to Europe, and they need it. So they ordered it overnight. Who are you to determine whether they're going to take it or not? I see so many people say, oh, I don't want to offer overnight. That's too expensive. People are never going to choose that. Why would you say that?
Yeah,
give them the option and let them choose it. Let them be the one to say no, but make it available. And what will really blow your mind is when you look at the data and you look at how many people actually take something you thought they weren't going to take. That is the part that's like, poof. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I almost talked myself out of this one. Yeah. Right? Same thing with free shipping. They're like, oh, well, I don't want to do free shipping because it's going to cost me money. Well, what if I could show you a way where it doesn't cost you money? Right? Now they're like, okay, well, yeah, then I'll offer it. So, a lot of it, I think people do too much thinking, right? And they listen to what other people tell them without really using data to make decisions. And we are massively huge on making data-driven decisions, right? So all of the things we talk about, like we're looking at math and saying, okay, does this make sense? Because if it makes sense, it makes dollars, right? If it doesn't make sense, at the end of the day, we kill it. And we're like, hey, look, it just doesn't make sense. In no universe will this make sense. Now we use data to make that decision, not just impulse. Does that make sense?
100%. Yeah, there's a lot of that for sure, where you make decisions on hearsay stories and like, this is what this person, maybe you're, set up on stage, but like most people don't track things. Like, I think that's just overarching consistency that, we've seen on the marketing side. Is like most time when we get accounts, when we get websites, when we get whatever, like there's no tracking, there's no analytics. People make money by accident, not because they have, analytics and kind of tracking to know where they're really actually making money. So no surprises on mine.
And to your point earlier with the Facebook ads, like people would never even try to do those silly I don't know if you know who Sam Ovens is, but I saw Sam Ovens, and I'm aging myself a little bit, but I'm going back like 10 years, maybe not 10 years, but probably like 8 years. He put out a post of like this rainbow unicorn. It was like this crazy, like ultra graphic. It was super colorful. He put it out to basically make a point. Pattern interruption is what stops people dead in their tracks. Mm-hmm. So when he put this like super colorful picture, people just stopped. They were just like, oh, whoa, what the hell is this? And they backed up to look at it. And he proved a point, right? Sometimes you don't even have to say anything. You just got to interrupt that pattern, right? People are constantly doing this on Facebook. Well, how do you get them to stop and pull back, right? So sometimes it's not about what you say. It's about what you're showing. So I don't know, man. I just I could talk forever with you guys, and I really enjoyed this. I know, I'm sorry, Logan. Probably got to go. The kiddos are probably like knocking on the door. Dad,
good.
It's bedtime.
One thing, Jeremy. So for those listening, How do they get a hold of you? What's the best way to set something up if they're interested in kind of moving forward with Kaerwell?
Yeah, so they can go right on the website, Kaerwell.com. And when they go to Kaerwell.com, they just click on fulfillment and they can just request a demo. So literally right on our website, they can request a demo. We can hop on Zoom calls. And, this is a little bit different because this is a podcast, but on a demo, I share my screen. And again, based on data, I show a lot. So I'm a very visual person. So I take them for a tour of the warehouse. I show them where their products are going to be living. And it's funny because, Chris, if you want to hop on a demo, I'll show you the warehouse and show you the buzz that I was talking about with people running around. And so, I love showing that because I think that realness gives them that control that they think they're going to lose. You know what I mean? So I show them that. And then I also show them some examples of Shopify stores that we've built, some of the logic that comes with those types of stores, because a lot of people may be using, Magento or Wix or Squarespace, and they don't realize the limitations that they have until they see what's available on the other side of the fence. And when they see it, they're like, holy crap, I need that. So I show a lot when we do demos. And then I also show real numbers with shipping. I'll literally go into the logs and I'll pull recent shipments with products that are shipping 2 or 3 items, or orders that are shipping 2 or 3 items versus orders that are shipping out 10 or 12 items, to show them the difference. Because I think seeing real numbers make all the difference in the world, because I can tell you whatever I want to tell you. I threw out the $8.06, number, but does that really register with people, or does seeing it make it believable? So I go through the logs and I literally pick out an order and say, look, let's take a look at some of these orders that are real orders that are tracking and shipping out, and show you what that looks like from a cost perspective, because I think people misunderstand the percentage that they could make coming to a fulfillment company. I think most people gauge their net profit at 18 or 20%. But what they fail to realize is that if we start at the top and we look at your gross profit and we look at your actual, back out all of your operation costs, because now we're doing all that, and you factor in what your real net is, I think it'll really surprise you to see that you're a lot higher than what you're thinking at that 20% mark. And those are things we go over. We give them a profitability calculator that literally spells it out and says, hey, add your product here. This is what your discounts are. Here's what the shipping is. Now, here's what it looks like with Kaerwell. And we give them this calculator so that they can see these numbers for themselves, and they can do it at their own time, where they can plug in the numbers and see, okay, well, this really makes sense for me to make this transition and shift. So that's how they can see me, Kaerwell.com. Just book a demo, and I'll be more than happy to kind of go and peel back the curtains and show them the nitty gritty.
Yeah, I'm glad that this podcast has to get edited first before it gets published, because I'm going to get on the list and get my demo first. So
hell yeah, let's do it.
Yeah,
let's do it. And to that point, Chris, it's 9:00, and I know when I talked to Logan, he was like, "Yeah, this is gonna, it'll be like a half hour, maybe 45 minutes. Kind of depends on the questions." We've gone for what, like an hour and a half?
Yeah, we go, and I feel like it's almost like a Rogan episode to some extent. We go, and then if we need to hop off, let's wrap it up. But if not, go until the conversation isn't flowing. So this was an easy one to talk through and learn about. I'm glad we met you, because this is my first time, and Logan, you guys have talked already. But again, from the both of us, thanks for hopping on. Thanks for sharing. And we'd love to have you back down the road. I think kind of in advance, I'm planting the seed, a closer to Black Friday, Cyber Monday call, I think would be a really good podcast to do, and kind of specifically make it all about that.
I love that. I absolutely love that idea. I think that's brilliant. And, if you guys want to come down to the facilities, I'd love to do it here live. So if you guys want to come down to the facilities, feel free. We warrant it. We tell people all the time, you want to come for a tour, you want to see what we do and how we do it, come be a fly on the wall. Forget being a fly on the wall. We'll put you in the trenches and you get to see it live.
You gotta be careful. I might be grabbing one of those little iPhone watches or whatever to start picking.
Yeah. Walking around with the thing. But I think it's actually really cool to see where your products live and then how the products are handled, right? There's another thing we didn't talk about, which is quality control and quality assurance. That stuff happens on inbound with us, not outbound. Although there is QC on outbound, but majority of it happens on inbound, because once the product is received and QC'd, it's living on a shelf. Nothing is happening to it on a shelf. If anything's going to happen to it, it's on transit coming here. When it arrives here, we open everything and we look at the labels, the seals. We make sure the bottles aren't smushed or broken. All of those things matter, because if any of those things happen, we're taking pictures and sending them to you and saying, hey, we received product that's damaged. You ordered 12, 4 of them are damaged. We're going to receive 8. What would you like us to do with the other 4? Do you want us to send them to you for samples? Do you want us to throw them out? Either way, here's some photos so you can send them to your supplier and get the reimbursement, or have them send us 4 new bottles, right? So those all happen on inbound, which help us exponentially speed up the process on outbound, because on outbound, it really becomes important to see, hey, we have 4 items in here. Are the 4 items in here? Right? Like, that's the QC at that point. Yes, we're looking at the bottles to make sure they haven't been dropped or whatever, because we're human, right? But a majority of QC happens on inbound. So I think it's important to see that. And when you're here, we walk through all of the processes and show you so you can see it. So if you guys are ever in Orlando and you're like, hey, I want to stop by the warehouse, come on down. Let me know you're coming, and I'll make it worth your while.
I was just saying, a little trip to Disney, a little trip to Kaerwell.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Where were you out of, Chris? Are you in Michigan too?
No, I'm in Austin, Texas. So,
I'm actually coming to Austin, Texas. I'm doing an event with a company, one of the brands. We're going to be doing an event out there with their sales reps, kind of similar to what I did with Emily. We're going to be doing it in Austin, Texas. So when I'm out there, I'll hit you up.
Yeah, as I said, let me know. Let me know when you're out.
For sure, I will. And anytime you guys want me back on, I'll definitely do it. Just let me know.
Yeah, we'd be happy to. We'd be happy to.
Awesome.
All right, sweet. So for you guys listening, again, this was episode 25 of the Money Medicine Podcast. It was Jeremy from Kaerwell. Logan already gave you the details of how to get in contact with him. But as always, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we'll see you guys next time.
Later.